Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, in this video today, we are going to be talking about updating your home without renovating. How to update your home without doing an entire renovation, because renovations suck, okay? They are not fun. They're not good, okay? Like no one enjoys, if you have to live in your home while you've renovated, especially if it's the kitchen, especially if it's your only bathroom, sometimes just feels like a fate worse than death. Honestly, they are just absolutely awful. Until you've made chili in an Instant Pot in your bathroom for 6 months because you're renovating your kitchen and it did not go according to plan, you don't know the pain of renovating. You think you want one, but you don't. Or maybe, you don't want it because you don't want to spend the time, you don't want to renovate because you can't afford it. No shame in that, I get it. If you don't want to renovate, how do you still update your space? And that's what we're going to be touching on in this video, because I think there's some really great, easy, not always easy, but easier than going through renovation ways to update your space and make it beautiful and fabulous. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So let's get going. First, real quick, I'm just going to say what we're not talking about. You're not getting new cabinets. Okay, you're not taking down walls. Okay, we're not ripping out those carpets. We're not ripping out your hardwood floors or your whatever. You're not changing out your flooring. Okay, we're not changing out your countertops. You're not getting a new bathtub out of this, but that's okay. Those are the things that I would personally say would be covered under a full renovation, and that's not what this video is about. We're also not talking about changing your furniture, because I feel like that's really obvious. If you need a video to tell you that, come on, just change out your nasty old furniture. If you feel like you want to update it, you don't need a video to tell you that. Decor items, kind of out of scope of this video. We're talking about those fixed elements and what to do about them without doing the entire renovation thing. That's the point of this video. So that's a good place to start. Okay, my first tip for you all is going to be to update your doors. So doors, I think, are just such a really, they're really, people don't talk about them now. We don't talk about doors as much as we probably should. This is what goes in my head, you guys. This is what I think about, is people don't talk about doors enough. There's so many problems in the world, but no one's talking about doors. Listen, that was sarcasm, by the way, before you come at me in the comments. I know there's bigger problems in the world, but let's talk about doors for a second. You can paint them, you can apply moldings to them, you can swap them out if you've got some vinyl hollow core ones that maybe just aren't so great. If you knock on them and they sort of feel really hollow, those are hollow core doors, not as great for sound absorption. They just sort of feel a bit cheap and flimsy. Getting a solid core is always going to be a massive upgrade, but those would probably be filed a little bit more into something a little bit more extensive. But I think painting doors or applying moldings to doors is just such sort of an easy way to sort of update. And again, people don't really think about their doors very much, because I guess it's just people think about what's in the room and then the other room, and they never think about that transition. And it's so important to do it because it's just such an easy thing. And think about it, it's something that you deal with every day. You're opening doors all the time in that place, and you don't really think about it, but you can definitely update them. I think a beautifully painted door, or one that's got some gorgeous trim on them, is just a really simple, easy upgrade, and honestly quite cost effective as well. Also, bonus, sub out the hardware. We're going to talk about hardware in a second, but I have to mention it with the context of doors as well, which is, those little peeling door handles, the ones that rattle and they're just no. Okay, those are an easy upgrade. It's not an extensive renovation, and again, you touch it, you feel it, you use it every single day, make it count. Okay, next up on my list is going to be to cover those eyesores. Okay, so without doing an entire renovation, right? That's the point of the video. We are going to have to resort to covering some of these things. So yes, there's some things that you can swap out fairly easily, like the door handles I just mentioned, but for other things, it's a little bit more difficult. So instead of doing a whole reno, just cover the ugly things, right? So even putting things like curtains over exposed cupboards can be a really great way. So let's say you've got sort of some cheap oven shelving things, and you've got maybe some built-ins that just aren't really kind of doing anything for you anymore, and you're like, do I take it out and do a whole big thing? Maybe just covering them up with some curtains. It can look really cute, assuming that it fits your design style. It leans a little bit more traditional, a little bit more rustic in a way, but I think it can be really fun and really beautiful. And it's just such a simple thing that is not that difficult necessarily to do, but you can kind of bring new life into those spaces, into those areas of the home that you didn't really know what to do with. And you were like, well, I can't afford giant new built-ins. So doing something like this to something really old can actually be a nice, neat way to update it, while also giving you some extra space for sort of some private and closed storage without necessarily having to reinvest in entire new cabinetry. Even things like if you've got some ugly old vents that you might have sitting around, maybe they're in the flooring, maybe they're in the wall vents, whatever it might be, think about swapping those out. They are relatively cheap to do, and sometimes people are hanging on to those ones from 1983, and maybe it could just be a really simple thing. If it started out white, but now it looks nicotine beige, I'm gonna call it, that's gonna be the Benjamin Moore color code, nicotine beige. Might be time to just refresh it, you know, like give it a solid try with the magic eraser. But if it's just not a miracle worker, okay, it's not actually magic. So maybe try to swap those out if they're not working for you anymore. So I think it's just really great to just sort of identify some of those areas of the home that are not particularly attractive, that are maybe looking really dated, but they're still maybe useful, right? Things that you might actually need, different panels and whatever that you might actually need in your home, but you don't necessarily have the budget or the patience to necessarily do an entire revamp. Try to cover them up. There's lots of really ingenious ways on the internet for you to find different sort of places that you can cover up some of those ugly things that aren't so attractive anymore. Okay, next up on my list is gonna be paint and peel and stick. Oof, we're getting controversial with the peel and stick. We'll get that in a second. Okay, let's talk about paint. Paint is your friend. Paint is, I will say, besides cleaning, paint is the cheapest way for you to refresh and DIY a space. Not just walls, although walls are a big part of it, okay? Walls, we can do ceilings, we can do cupboards, we can do trim, we can do furniture, but preferably not like vintagey stuff that's actually beautiful. Just leave that the way that it is, please, for all of our sakes, otherwise that makes me cry. But if you've got like beautiful wood furniture, maybe not. But you know, in the end though, if you've got some old pine furniture or something, go for it. Get out that bucket of Benjamin Moore and make something happen. You know, like there's so many ways that you can update a home with paint. I really think it's just underutilized because people maybe just go like, you know, it just feels like a real hassle, but it's super DIY friendly. Even I can do it. And I don't do much. So, you know, if I can do it, you can do it. So find ways that you can just sort of paint in, you know, new walls, new cabinetry. You know, you might have some old dated cabinetry in the kitchen. You might have an old vanity in the bathroom. And you might think, I really want to renovate because I just want all these new beautiful, gorgeous cabinets that I see on Instagram all the time. And I feel you, but it's just not for you because that's why you're watching this video and not those other ones, okay? So consider painting. Consider painting those old ones. And honestly, you'll get a good enough version. Listen, I'm not gonna say paint is magic. None of these tips in here are magic, but you know, it will do a solid job at getting you 4/5 of the way there. And sometimes that's just what you need because you might not have 80 grand to blow on a renovation, right? But you might have a few $100 for some paint. Okay, and then we're also gonna talk about peel and stick. In the spirit of it's not a miracle, I'm gonna say it again, it's not a miracle. You can't pretend that it's the same as tile. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that it is. It's not the same as going to a tile shop and picking out some gorgeous handmade Moroccan tile that's been flown in to Anne Sachs herself, if she is a real person, I don't know, flew in and delivered your tile to you. You know, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's a vinyl subway tile that you bought on Amazon, peel and stick, right? Like that's the reality. Once you've embraced the reality though, who cares? Who cares at that point? It is what it is. It can do a really great job of covering up something ugly. Sometimes, you know, people are really snobby about peel and stick, whether that's talking about peel and stick floor tile in the bathroom, in the kitchen, peel and stick backsplash. Maybe you're doing peel and stick wallpaper, right? You want to really mix it up. Maybe paint's just not enough for you and you're looking for ways to do peel and stick wallpaper. I love all these options. Again, so long as we're honest about what it is. It's not the same as going to a tile shop and getting a person to come in and tile all your stuff. It's not the same as an entire renovation. It's not the same as a slab marble backsplash in your kitchen, okay? It's not the same. But now that we've embraced that, have fun with it, because you know what? If you've got some old glass mosaic tiles that are just really not doing anything for you because you did that in 2004 and it was super trendy at the time, and now you got this guy on the internet telling you they're dated and you're like, what do I do? You know what? If you don't want to go and take them all out and do a whole kitchen reno, because who wants to, then go ahead and just get some peel and stick. It's gonna be good enough. It's gonna look better. It's gonna look better. And sometimes better is better than nothing. Yeah, that's true. Okay, next up on my list is gonna be to upgrade pulls and knobs. So I talked about that with the doors earlier, worth repeating here. Think about it. There are actually lots of different places in your home that you probably have little pulls and knobs and things that you don't even realize. We're talking about on media consoles. We're talking about in the kitchen, on your kitchen cabinetry. You know that old nasty stuff that you've had on there for a long time? I mean, I don't want to assume. Someone did say in the comments one, they were like, why do you assume that I have all this cheap nasty stuff? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just working with the lowest common denominator. Maybe you're fabulous, in which case good for you. But let's say you maybe do have stuff that's a little bit dated and been hanging on for about 35 years. Swap them out. It's super easy. It's not that hard. Just get your little Phillips screwdriver in the back there and you can just pop those things off, pop new ones on, you are good to go. And you know what? If you don't want to go and buy brand new ones, then feel free to spray paint the old ones. Listen, is it the same? No, it's not magic. It's spray paint. What did you expect? A can is like $7, okay? Like, but it's gonna give new life to things that were looking a little nasty. And it's gonna make it look 10 times better than it did, I can tell you that, all with a can of spray paint. So door handles, you know, if you've got stuff for, again, you got them in your doors, obviously, where else could you put them? Oh, those little like robe hooks that you got in your bathroom, you know, change those out if those have been there for a long time. In fact, any of your bathroom accessories can all be swapped out. Even faucets are not necessarily that difficult, although we are starting to get into renovation territory when you're starting to take apart your kitchen sink, so maybe not. But there's so many different knobs and pulleys and little things around your home that just go a long way to just swap them out. Those electrical outlet little panels, go ahead and upgrade those. You don't need to do an entire renovation to do that. So take those little spaces in your home where you got all those little metals sitting around, give them a quick refresh. Okay, next up on my list is going to be to upgrade your lighting. So in the spirit of talking about metals, right? We talked about those poles, we talked about those things, okay, fine. Don't forget the lighting. Lighting is such an easy, relatively easy, I mean, you might have to hire an electrician. If you're not very good and you electrocute yourself, don't sue me, okay? I didn't say you should do it yourself. I'm going to tell you to hire an electrician, because if you kill yourself, that's all of a sudden gonna be like, people are gonna be like, why did he get out his own electrical? Oh, because he heard some stupid YouTuber tell him. Listen, hire an electrician, don't hurt yourself, okay? But possibly, depending on your situation, you might be able to do it yourself. But again, you didn't hear from me. Yeah, swap out your lighting, okay? There's lots of nasty lighting out there. We've talked about the boobs, but there's so many other lighting fixtures out there that are also not that great, because I think people hold on to lighting for a really long time because they just think of lighting, especially that light in the center of the room, as sort of a really like functional piece. And it's kind of like doors I mentioned earlier, right? It's these functional pieces, the electrical outlets, the vent things. These are the things that people don't think about because you just use them, but you don't necessarily think of them as pretty. You know, like if your couch is not looking great, people are like, I need a new couch, but they don't oftentimes think they need a new light, a new electrical, you know, panel, a new, you know, vent cover or whatever for their living room. Like it's that type of stuff that we tend to forget about. It just sort of fades in the background, but it's those things that make a massive difference. So lighting, more floor lamps, I think, more desk lamps, more task lamps, more accent lighting, like lots of different lighting fixtures in general, I think is a good idea. So you have a comprehensive lighting plan. That's important. Please see my 17,000 videos I've done on lighting. But swapping out lighting is relatively easy. Again, hire an electrician, don't sue me. But I do think that it's an easy-ish way to be able to upgrade your space. You don't have to do an entire renovation. You don't have to swap out all it's a lot easier to change a light in the center of the room than it is to change out your countertops, right? So it's such an easy way to refresh your space, give it a little bit of sparkle, give it a little bit of light. Such a fabulous way of making your space feel great without necessarily having to commit to 6 months of your life for a giant renovation and tens of thousands of dollars that you may or probably maybe not have, because who just has that lying around? You know, renovations are expensive and this stuff is easier. So try this first before you commit to something like a huge, massive reno. Okay, so that's it for me today, guys. Hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm going to like link here to a renovation mistakes video that I did forever ago about my own renovation and the mistakes that I've made. I feel like no one watched that video, but I think it's actually pretty good. So go check out that one because it's about how to, the mistakes I've made, and I have made several. I'll see you all in that video. Thanks a lot. Bye.